Hi, so topic 5. I'm back again recording, and hopefully I have some time to record the whole of topic 5 today. I might have to stop in the middle of this one in case a delivery comes, but I hope you'll forgive me if I break it into 2. The plan is to do this topic 5. Let me show you the lecture notes on ICOs, initial coin offerings, and various other crypto assets, a taxonomy of all the different types of crypto assets. Okay, so in the initial coin offerings, that's a broad term. You can have security token offerings or initial exchange offerings. They are various flavors of initial coin offerings. So that's this video, or 2. And then there's CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, and stable coins. That's the next video. That's it. Hopefully just 2 videos for this topic. This one might be quite long though. All right, so initial coin offerings, ICOs. What is it? It's a crowdfunding tool, a fundraising tool used by startups, usually for blockchain projects. It doesn't have to be, but almost always it's done with a smart contract on another blockchain, but very often the fundraising is for projects that are going to be using the blockchain. And most of the funds are raised in Bitcoin or Ether, but you find some that accept Neo, Tron, things like that, and also fiat currencies like dollar and so forth. But mostly it's Bitcoin and Ether. So the idea is that if you're a crowdfunder, you're given a new type of token in exchange for your Bitcoin or Ether or fiat. And the exchange rate that you get for the number of coins you get for 1 Ether is determined by the way that the initial coin offering goes, a little bit like an IPO, an initial public offering. More about those in my other modules or talks. But I will be comparing the properties of initial coin offerings and IPOs later on in this lecture. So what's the difference between a coin and a token? A coin has its own new native blockchain, like EOS, for example. A token resides on another blockchain, like Tether, for example. In fact, Tether is, we'll talk about in the next lecture, is everywhere. It's basically the digital dollar without any proper collateralization, it seems. Anyway, well, that's next lecture. But a token resides on another blockchain, and some tokens reside on lots of blockchains. Tether started off on Bitcoin, then it went to, that's the Omni layer. Bitcoin itself doesn't have smart contracts. You need the second layer protocol, the Omni layer, to have the smart contract. So anyway, then it went to Ethereum and then Tron and lots of other blockchains it's using. And in a good ICO, the token, usually it's token, is needed in order to buy the services for this blockchain product. And also, usually, there is a secondary market for them so that you can trade your new token, whatever it's called, on a crypto exchange. Right, so that's what they are. Now, there's lots and lots of data sites, and in particular, some of these are what we call ranking sites, more of those in topic 6. So I won't go into detail here about what a ranking site really is and the role it plays. Let's take a look at those. I've opened some of them. I like token economy. I think that's one of the nicest ones. That's this one here. So the tokens economy gives market overview by categories, by country. It compares countries. It compares years. And in this one, for example, the different countries have different colors, and the size shows how much was raised. So In 2017, for example, EOS and Tezos were particularly big ones, and they were raised in, which one? Shall we have a look here? The red country, USA. Okay. But now in 2020, just a few very large ICOs. It's quite interesting to see how this has evolved. Not only by year, but by months as well. So this data is a little old. They haven't got all the months there, but I think the coronavirus has made ICOs much, much more important in the world economy than they ever were before. All right, so let's put that back, go to, oh no, I'm going to also look at some of these other ones. So I've opened them already. This is ICO Bench. ICO Bench is good because you can search things. I was searching something, they just closed those things. So, I mean, there's like 200,000 of these things by now. A lot of them are sort of dead ICOs. In fact, on this site, you can go down and have a look at the dead tokens. Quite a few of them just, you know, they raised money, but unfortunately, the project was not a success. So if I just filter everything by the start, oops. Okay, this isn't filtering particularly well. There's probably too many of them, but let me just close everything and look at different types of token. I'll explain what I mean by a utility token or a security token later. With expert ratings, for example, here's a rating out of 5 for these things. And what else could we search under? The country, for example, in the Bahamas. Okay, a couple of them in the Bahamas are rated. A lot of them in the Bahamas wouldn't be. But if we went to British Virgin Islands, there'll be a lot more there. You see, that's because it's a tax haven. So 1 page, 2 page, and so forth. All right, so your project, if you are doing an ICO project, you will definitely need to be using data from here, or you can go to ICO Drops. This has all the active ones. Not sure that they do have some statistics here, which is quite interesting. It looks at the 24-hour return, the amount that's been trading in the secondary markets. Who knows which exchanges these are listed on? There's hundreds of different crypto exchanges, and most of the smaller tokens would only be listed on very obscure exchanges. Anyway, that's ICO Drops. ICO Rating, here's a rating page. I mean, I'll let you explore this when you're doing your project. This will give you which exchange and some analytics, post ICO ratings, pre and post the, oh, there's no news there, okay. Anyway, so I'll let you explore these websites. This is if you're doing an ICO of your own and you want to get rated, see what news they've got there. Can't see anything, it's not doing anything. Invest, let's have a look. What happens if I go there? That gives me some active ICOs in art. This seems to be a lot better, this website, I think. This and the ICO Bench probably. It's nice, I like this. Gives you a lot of information that could be useful when you choose an ICO, either for a seminar or a project. And so this is showing 3,804 active ICOs. This one, forget that one, I would say. It's not so good. And ICO Drops might be useful for market data. Anyway, all right, that's enough on all that data out there. Let's go back to the lecture. All right, Bitcoin was the first initial coin offering. it's a digital currency residing on its own blockchain, but it didn't follow the typical key stages that we'll go through that initial coin offerings now adhere to. There wasn't really any formal crowdfunding, and Satoshi Nakamoto simply mined the first Bitcoin blocks himself and then sent it to Hal Finney, you know, the story. So there's not really an ICO. Then there was another early one before Ether, which was the Omni token, Mastercoin Omni. Remember the Omni layer? There's a little nice video here on the Omni layer. Let's play it for you. It's only a short one. So
the financial system is prone to crisis.
You know, a minute is about my limit with a video. So that's why you've got to learn, keep your videos short.
Inflation, capital controls, and negative interest rates affect people around the world. Bitcoin was invented to provide a fair financial system that works without banks and governments. Its basis is the blockchain, a book of accounts that everyone can check and no one can manipulate. Omni is a layer over the Bitcoin blockchain that opens up even more possibilities. With Omni, you can create and trade any kind of asset, stocks, currencies, commodities, even real estate. For an Omni transaction, you need a tiny amount of Bitcoin, but its real value is described in a short note attached to the transaction. The Omni decentralized exchange allows anyone to post an order to buy or sell without a middleman. Here's an example. Alexia from Greece wants to invest part of her savings in US dollars. She puts up an order to sell 10,000 euros for dollars over the Omni network. Brian from Nigeria wants to buy euros for a trip to Italy. He offers $11,000 to trade for euros. The Omni network, which consists of many independent computers, automatically matches their orders and the transaction takes place. During the whole process, they are fully in control of their money.
Okay, so it's really a marketing video. It's about as much as I can take of that. But notice it was June 2016. But the Omni token actually was a form of master coin that the initial coin offering was in 2013. So it raised almost 5,000 Bitcoin. That would be a lot today. Yeah, it would be something like $50,000 or $500,000, sorry, $500,000 at the time. So Ether was the first proper coin ICO with its own blockchain, Ethereum, and it raised money in Bitcoin, about $19 million, and issued Ether to the developers and the early investors. So there's Mastercoin, about 500,000. Then there's MadeSafe, Ethereum, about 18 million. Waves, the DAO, the Distributed Autonomous Organization. This Gnosis is still going pretty well, I think. That's probably defunct. Bancor, still going. Don't know about Status, think that might be dead. Tezos still going. EOS that's the first EOS. There's been another EOS. So let's have a look at this animation. There's the link if you want to watch it again. It's fun, but it's a bit old. But if we go on to this animation, it ends in 2018, and it shows the evolution of initial coin offerings from 2014. Tokens raised 1.8 million, and none of them, there's the first European one, North America, Ethereum, there we are, 19 million it says here, well, 18, 19 million, whatever. What's a million between initial coin offerings? Then some Middle East, Israel, I think probably is the most likely to be the place that issued that, up to about 38 million, 44 million by 2015, 2016. Still, small fry compared with what's coming in 2020. As I said, these massive ICOs, I mean, I'll tell you more about the scale of these. That's the DAO, 168 million. Okay, so we're up to $300 million. Oceania, Africa. There's the first EOS. This is 2017. Tezos there. Filecoin didn't do very well. So we're up to 10 billion, 12, 14 billion, 16, 18, 20 billion. Telegram, look at that big one. So in 2018, it really took off. And, you know, we're looking at 28 billion so far, and that was more than 2 years ago. So interesting video. What about EOS? EOS.io, the blockchain, and EOS, the coin, there's the symbol. So the EOS blockchain was a very, very large one. You saw the very first one, 168 million. It was the first major competitor for Ethereum. It used delegated proof of stake from the start. There's been an ongoing argument between the EOS development team, Block One, and Vitalik Buterin and his Ethereum team about the advantages and limitations of proof of stake versus delegated proof of stake. Anyway, it's all about cryptography and consensus algorithms, and not so much it's more a computer science subject than this module can deal with. The second EOS ICO raised over 7 million Ether in May 2018. And the EOS coin market cap has been around 3 billion since February last year. Its developers hold more Ether than the Ethereum Foundation. And they hold so much EOS that, and with a delegated proof of stake, you buy the right to make the blocks with the amount of stake you have. And so Block One makes the blocks. So there is a concern about it being rather a monopoly on terms of making blocks. And so this decentralization that blockchains are supposed to have is not necessarily working on EOS. Telegram, well, many of you probably use Telegram messaging service. It's one of several coins that actually didn't get to the ICO. It stopped at the pre-ICO fundraising stage. They got so much money in the pre-ICO in 2018 that they said, we're not doing the ICO at all. And so they got 1.7 billion. I mean, that's just amazing. They got 1.7 billion. You know, in an IPO, you're lucky if you raise 3 million. And then later, Telegram tried another ICO for the TON blockchain they wanted to build. There's a video here about that. I'll play the EOS and the Telegram later when I go back to the internet links. But that didn't work because by then, the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commissions, the regulators of securities, of IPOs and various other, you know, stocks and shares and all that trading is regulated by the Securities Exchange Commission in the US. They ordered Telegram to pay back 1.2 billion that they raised in their second ICO because they had contravened security laws. They should have run it much more like an IPO. So at that point, the SEC were trying to put a cap on the number of ICOs that were actually rather like shares in a company, called a securities token offering. And they had to pay a big penalty as well of $1.8 million. So the original investors in the ICO got their money back by order of the SEC. So the key stages in a typical ICO are the announcement of the project. That can be done usually on Reddit or any sort of social media. Telegram obviously is a place that's where you get a lot of these announcements, and some discussion about the project where they make feedback and an improvement. And then the key thing is the white paper. That has to have its own business model, a development roadmap, team members, who are they, what their backgrounds are, what's the benefit of this project to the community, how is the token going to be used, all that sort of stuff. And that white paper is the sort of core element of the marketing materials. So if you're evaluating a new ICO, the first thing you're going to do is look at the white paper. It could be 100 pages long, that white paper is, it has to be a very good business model document. And then the contract will specify exactly what the target investment amounts are. Are they going for $1 billion or more? What's the soft cap or the hard cap in terms of, if they don't reach the soft cap, they'll probably cancel the whole thing. And a hard cap would mean they're not taking any more investors above that. When are the sales going to start? What's the dates for the pre-ICO and the actual ICO itself? What sort of currencies are accepted? Is it just Bitcoin and Ether or other crypto and other fiat? What about the token? What are the rules governing its use? And what are the rights of investors and the deadlines in the project? And what sort of prices are they setting at the pre-ICO and at the beginning? The ICO itself, obviously, like a floating exchange rate, but the pre-ICO investors get a preferential rate. Once it's gone to the ICO, it's a bit like an IPO, then the market will determine what sort of exchange rates you get. But on the pre-ICO, the early investors get a preferential exchange rate. So the marketing is really the most important part, to make sure you've got plenty of people that are going to go in for the pre-ICO and the ICO. So how do you do it? Well, the main thing is get a great website. And that's where you're going to have your white paper, post everything about it, about the project on the website, make the website look really, really good, lots of dynamic videos and things like that. And then use social media to get out to the specific cryptocurrency community. And there's lots of people I know that, they're only now beginning to really get into the ICO space. Traditional traders have got their watch list, and sometimes it's impossible to get in on the pre-ICO. You have to wait for the ICO, just like with an IPO. The early investors in IPOs get preferential rates. It's called a laddering of an IPO. You may have done it in one of your modules. So this pre-sale is run before the official crowdfunding goes live, and that's to get enough funds to pay for the development of the main ICO, including this marketing that gets more and more important as you get towards the date of the ICO. So the pre-ICO funding target is usually much lower than the main ICO. I mean, Telegram was a bit of an outlier. Normally your pre-ICO would just be a few preferential investors to give you enough funds to go to the main ICO. And they get, as I said, the coins or tokens are sold much cheaper to reward these early investors for the risk that they take. Ideally, the pre-ICO would use a different smart contract, different from the main ICO event. Otherwise, you could mix up the funds in the smart contracts. And then afterwards, you have to reconcile accounts and have some sort of audit about where all the money came from. So that's why different smart contracts are usually used. So what's the downside of getting into a pre-ICO? Well, just like with IPOs, the early investors use a pump and dump scheme. So they buy the token cheap, they hype it up. And so that people that aren't used to this way of trading get thinking that it's a great ICO. We can't get on the pre-ICO, but let's get in on the ICO, by which time they're pumping it up and there's lots and lots of investors. And then the early investors wait for the price to be bid up in the ICO, and then they dump it. And if you've sold a lot on the pre-ICO, that can have a terrible effect on the subsequent prices. So the early investors can make a very quick profit. This happens all the time with IPOs, unfortunately. So one has to be quite careful about pre-ICOs, not to give too many coins away. Otherwise, the whole ICO could just be a washout. So good coins link the value of, or tokens, link the value of the token to the project. So a good ICO will have a token that's very, very tied into this blockchain project, like a renewable energy ICO. You have to have the coin in order to buy the energy. Or a gambling ICO, there's loads and loads of those. Or a gaming ICO, you have to have the token to play the game. So that's a good way of designing an ICO. A bad way of designing an ICO is not to have the token linked to the success of the project. And the token becomes a sort of, well, you used it in the ICO and now we've got all these tokens, but what are they used for? There's no utility for them. So most ICOs are actually utility tokens. Kodak coin was designed to raise money for photographers, a bit like Getty Images, but you didn't need Kodak coin to pay for the image. So that was a big failure. So there's so many different types of ICO, and the good ones will also go for the ERC standard. That's a sort of stamp of approval, ERC tokens. Ethereum request for comments. There's more than 200,000 of those existed by at least compatible ones. They may not be exactly on the Ethereum blockchain, but they may be on other blockchains, but using the ERC standards. So that was by October 2019. Let's have a look at the ERC tokens, ERC standards. So more about what an ERC token is in this article, written last August. So you need to design the smart contract in a way that it's going to have the right standards. It won't, for example, like the DAO, there was a famous hack of that one because the smart contract had an error in it. So on the way you set the gas price and the gas limit for the smart contract has to be reviewed in order to pass the standards here. It's a bit like the ISDA recommendations for an over-the-counter derivative. So yeah, it's just a set of standards. Incidentally, this is the site for EOS, and EOS is a new blockchain like Ethereum, which takes a lot of new coins as well, and you can use a test net to get your smart contract tested before you put it on the EOS blockchain. They don't have their own set of standards yet. There's still the ERC20, ERC721, it depends what type of token you've got. This is the failed Telegram ICO for the TON blockchain. Lots of very good marketing information.
Telegram has reached 170 million active users and 500,000 new users join daily. Each day, Telegram delivers 70 billion messages across its distributed global network. Now Telegram will use its experience and scale to revolutionize blockchain technology. In 2018, Telegram will launch the Telegram Open Network, TON, a fast, scalable, and user-friendly cryptocurrency and blockchain platform. All Telegram users will get a TON wallet, instantly making it the world's most adopted cryptocurrency. TON can provide the required capacity and securely handle millions of transactions per second, thanks to its unique multi-blockchain architecture. When a TON blockchain gets too big, it automatically splits in two to increase capacity. All TON blockchains can quickly exchange data between each other using a smart routing system. TON will use direct payment channels to transfer value in milliseconds, faster than Visa or MasterCard. Unlike in older blockchains, TON processing nodes will do only useful work, maximizing efficiency. Each block within a TON blockchain can become a blockchain of its own, making the whole structure immensely flexible. TON will easily accommodate billions of users and thousands of decentralized applications. In 2018, 200 million Telegram users will enter the TON ecosystem and get access to its fast, user-friendly cryptocurrency and app platform. Join the Telegram token distribution event to finally take cryptocurrencies mainstream.
Well, unfortunately, that one didn't work. I mean, they had the sharding, they had the vision of infinitely scalable, the number of transactions per second, challenging Visa and MasterCard. But, they were trying trying to move in everyone's space there. Ripple has already got that, Ripple, because it's not properly mined, it doesn't have the problem, and that's the digital currency that's going to be taking over from Visa and MasterCard, I think. And then when it comes to the smart contracts, EOS is doing pretty well, but it's still Ethereum, really. Okay, now, where are we? Let's go back to the lecture notes and have a look at the type of tokens that we've got at the moment. What are these 200,000 tokens like? So in the end of 2018, there was a very nice market report. I'll take you to those at the end, from Crypto Compare, showing that the majority are utility tokens like Ether. In other words, it provides access to a service like energy or blockchain or something like that. There were a few payment tokens, Zcash, things like that, Dash, Dodge. That's just a value transfer, no claims on the issuer. Some asset tokens. These are analogous to equities, bonds, futures, securities really. And that's where the SEC came in and made sure that these are properly regulated. And there are hybrid ones that are like payment and utility, or asset and payment, and so forth. So security is like an asset token. So this is data from 2017 to the end of 2019 from Michael Dakos, who is my third year PhD, used to teach on this module, and his paper on ICOs has been using a lot of data to categorize them. You can see that a lot of them are new platforms, new blockchains, 350 ICOs of those, and 200 are new types of cryptocurrencies. Some of them are in media. I think we'll get more in media. That probably is growing up now with cinemas closing, theatres closing, and there'll be, Netflix and Zoom and that are going ahead like crazy. So there'll be lots of startups in the media space. Not many on charity, huh? Casino and gambling, artificial intelligence, banking, all these different categories. Okay, so, and the number of ICOs, this is by the start and this is by the finish. Most of them last about a month, actually. Some of them, the EOS one lasted almost a year, but most of them only last a month or 2 months maybe. Anyway, so the boom for the start was in the middle of 2018, and for the end was around the last quarter of 2018. In 2019, it was a fallow period. I think we're going into a period in 2020 where they get much more fashionable again. We can see that may not be the number, it's the amount that they're raising has really changed. Yes, when I was saying about most of them last about a month, so the median, so this in his sample, he's got a special sample of successful ICOs that are still trading and all this sort of thing. A lot of them aren't successful, so, but the median is 30 days, as you can see here. Some of them last up to 100 days or so. Some of them are very 0 days. They don't even go beyond the pre-ICO. 42 of those already, or more than 42. All right, what's the difference between an ICO and an IPO in a nutshell? An IPO, you've got stocks and they pay dividends. And in an ICO, normally you've got a token that's buying some sort of utility. The company with an IPO needs to be a very large company with a good track record. It's probably been trading for 3 to 5 years at least. It should have a very, very good balance sheet, and it's going to be using a bank like JP Morgan or any other bank that's going to underwrite the ICO and give preferential prices to investors that it wants to bid up the price, etc., all that. Anyway, whereas with an ICO, all you need is a white paper and a website, probably. Takes 4 to 6 months maybe for an IPO. most of the IPOs, as you can see, take less than 4 weeks. And there's a heavy regulation from the SEC for an IPO. There's no uniform regulation standards for an ICO. And when I say the SEC, I just mean IPOs that are in the States. I mean, obviously, the FCA would regulate, the Financial Conduct Authority would regulate the IPOs in the UK and so forth. So the local central bank or the stock regulator would be, that commission would be regulating. Whereas ICO, we'll see that, you know, in Switzerland or the British Virgin Islands, Malta has lots of ICOs domiciled there. Why? Because they don't have any proper regulation standards. Or you get quite a few in Austria and Germany because they were early to sort of be very clear about what the regulations were going to be. But they're different depending on the domicile. So these regulations, this is something from the US Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, where there's a nice article about the spotlight on 5 things you need to know if you're going to make an ICO in the US to get through SEC compliance. If it's definitely a utility token, then it would be more like the CFTC, not the SEC, that you would need to satisfy. Different types of ICO. As I said at the beginning, there are flavors of ICOs. There's security token offerings or initial exchange offerings. So an ICO may be classified as a security, an STO definitely is, and an IEO also. You don't know whether, if you're going to be classified as a security, you've got a lot of hurdles to jump over, so try not to. Does it give access to a product or a service? ICO usually, most of them are utility tokens. STO, no, it's definitely a security. And an IEO, maybe. Listed directly on an exchange? No, an ICO or an STO needs to court an exchange. And as I said, there are hundreds of possible exchanges. Some of them are really looking for good ICOs to start trading in a secondary market, and they can offer very preferential fees for that. Others are more established and you have to pay the exchange a big fee in order to list your ICO. Or you just have to know the directors in your network. An IEO is listed immediately on an exchange. It goes through an exchange, okay? Okay, got to the end of this video. That's it for now. See you in the next one.